Morning, everyone. This is Jill Hermes with Advantage C, a service of Carroll Community College. And here we are at another PowerBrew on this cold January morning. We're so happy that you're with us. Today we have a great presentation. And typically, Michelle Shepard and I are your moderators, so you probably know the drill if you've joined us before. But we're just going to tell you a little bit about how we roll out. So Advantage C, as I said, is a service of Carroll Community College, and we offer a variety of training, facilitation, consulting, and assessment services to the Carroll community. And really, we're just here to offer business solutions so that your business can be successful, and we are so happy to partner with you in order just to bring the best results possible forward. And we're in a new year, and we've probably got a new strategic plan in place and all kinds of new initiatives. So today we're going to talk about ways to just enhance that and make it the best possible way. One of the things that we can look at when we're helping you with training is our Management Development Training Certificate. Highly recommend it. Take a look at the different opportunities and the different classes that we offer. Many of you have participated in these classes with some of our excellent adjunct faculty members. And just probably every topic that you've thought, oh, wow, our team could really benefit through a little diversity training, or our team could really benefit in learning a little bit deeper communication skill training. This certificate can really help you out. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to call us.
I just wanted to mention to everyone that the classes are starting in February, and you can actually start that certificate in February and finish up in June. So you can finish in less than 6 months, which is pretty awesome.
Right, and we try to be very flexible in customizing training opportunities. You can enroll in the open enrollment courses that are scheduled, and you can find those in the balance book, or you can also customize that to your own staff members, and we can make that just for you and your schedule. So today's webinar, oh, sorry, Michelle, did you want to talk about the logistics a little bit first?
Sure. So a lot of you have been with us in the past. We do encourage questions. I know Martine's webinar today will probably prompt some questions from you. You can go ahead and pop those into the chat bar on the bottom right of your control panel there. The webcam, you can actually hide that. You can move Martine's face around on your screen if you'd like. You can make her smaller or bigger, and that's under the webcam section there. And then if you don't want to see the control panel, just go ahead and hit that top right orange arrow there. That will collapse that screen for you.
Thank you. So again, Martine's going to bring us hacks to help reduce stress and increase productivity today. Who does not want to reduce stress and increase productivity? Martine has been an adjunct faculty member here at Carroll for a while. She's an excellent speaker. She's a writer. She's a health coach. She is very passionate about today's topic. She's a graduate of both Syracuse University and University of Maryland, and she has a great expertise in this area. So Martine, welcome. We're very happy to have you.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here, and I can't wait to share with you some tips to kind of help you reduce stress in your life and be more productive. So I won't go through my bio because I just got an awesome introduction, but I have a background as a lifestyle expert and a health coach. So I'm always excited to share my expertise with others as a way to just kind of help you improve your life and your health. And I think that ultimately leaks into other areas of life. So it helps you become more productive at work. It helps you have better relationships with the people that you love. So I'm excited to share today with you. I always love a good quote, so I like to open up any workshop or presentation that I do with a quote. So this quote says, "It's a good idea always to do something relaxing prior to making an important decision in your life." And I felt like this was a great way to kick off this particular webinar, just because I think sometimes we just get so stressed out about all of the responsibilities that we have in life, and then we wonder why we're not able to make better decisions. We wonder why we're not able to implement all of the things that we want to implement in our lives, why we're not able to be more productive or be more focused, and we don't realize that it's a result of the high level of stress that we're experiencing all the time. So if we can figure out ways to manage our stress better and to reduce stress in our lives, then it will ultimately help us make better decisions, particularly when those are important decisions that will have a significant impact on our business, on our bottom line, or just on our life overall. So what is stress doing to you? So I'm pretty sure there's not a person on this call that hasn't been stressed out before. I think we're at a point in our culture where, unfortunately, sometimes people even think of being stressed as kind of like a strange badge of honor. Like everyone is saying it all the time. I'm so stressed out. I have so much to do. There's so much on my plate. I'm so busy. And although we can't completely avoid stress, and stress is not entirely a bad thing, there are definitely good stressors in our lives. We do have to think about the consequences that come with being overstressed. So having too much stress in your life can lead to having poor eating habits and a lack of exercise. And I think we've all been there before. You're stressed, you're busy, you don't have time to plan out that perfect lunch to pack all your healthy snacks, so you just grab whatever you can on the go. Or you have the best intentions to hit the treadmill or the elliptical after work, but it's been such an exhausting, stressful work day that the thought of getting on any type of exercise machine stresses you out even more, so you don't get it done. Stress can also lead to brain fog. So when there's too much on your plate, you just kind of find that you have a hard time focusing. You really can't complete tasks as quickly as you typically would. You can't think as clearly as you would, and it just affects your day-to-day. Stress can definitely cause physical symptoms. So oftentimes when we're stressed, we experience headaches. Sometimes people experience gastrointestinal symptoms and a whole host of other physical symptoms that can really make it hard for you to be productive, for you to have the level of energy that you want and need to have. Too much stress can lead to insomnia. And what does insomnia lead to? Even more stress, because now you're exhausted. You're not getting the rest that you need for your brain and for the rest of your body to function well and to perform well. So it's kind of like a cyclical situation. Stress can lead to mental health issues, including depression, sometimes anxiety. So if you have stress that's not managed well, and you're experiencing more and more stress and you're not implementing anything to kind of reduce the stress in your life or give you a way to manage it more effectively, it has a significant impact on your mental health. It can leave you feeling uninspired. I know that that's certainly been the case for me. I am an entrepreneur, so I have a lot of friends that are entrepreneurs and kind of like my entrepreneurial circles, and I know that that's something that constantly comes up, right? When you're trying to grow your business and build your business and you're trying to hit revenue goals, and then you're stressed. So now you're so stressed, you don't have the creativity and the inspiration that you need to successfully move through other parts of your business, and it just affects the way you're able to be productive and get things done. And then finally, being too stressed makes you less productive. So as much as you may have your wonderful to-do list and your calendar and all of these things that you want to get done, the truth is when you have a high level of stress, you just naturally get less done every day. So I think everyone is focused on productivity hacks, and that focus is in itself is probably stressing you out. I think that there's no shortage of articles, segments on morning shows, applications for your phone that focus on productivity. I feel like I hear it every single day. I run into it every single day, and frankly, it stresses me out because I feel like everyone's trying to give me tips and hints on how to be more productive. But I think ultimately we need to remember that less stress equals more productivity. So if we focus on less stress, then we're more likely to be productive. So I want you today to kind of think a little bit about how to shift your focus, and let's focus on the right thing. I like to compare it to, like, sometimes people want to lose weight. and they're so focused on the scale, and they keep focusing on like their pants fitting a certain way, and they keep focusing on the number of this on the scale. But I tell people, if you can shift your focus to your lifestyle instead, and you can focus on how to maybe change some of your day-to-day habits, how to replace soda with water, how to find fun ways to include activity in your life, then you kind of shift your focus off just that number on the scale, and then you'll ultimately reach that goal of losing weight by focusing on your lifestyle. So I feel like it's the same way with stress and productivity. If you stop focusing so much on all of these productivity hacks and you shift the focus to changing your lifestyle to make it less stressful, you'll see that ultimately the goal will be that you're able to be far more productive in your day-to-day life. So I'm going to share with you 15 hacks that can help you reduce stress and increase productivity. I promise the hacks are not stressful. And at the end of the webinar, I'll even share some tips on how you can take action, because I know sometimes we'll gather all this information and then we kind of don't know where to get started, or we don't have clear tips on how to get started. So I'll share a little bit of that at the end. And if you have additional questions for me, I'll be happy to answer those. So the first hack is to remove social media apps from your phone and turn off your notifications. So I'm one of those people that's been guilty of probably having too much going on my phone. And you know, I used to get news notifications on my phone all the time. Whenever there was like a major news headline, it would pop up on my phone. And then I got a new phone for Christmas, and everything transferred over to my new phone except for that setting that allowed me to keep getting those news notifications. And it probably took like maybe 3 weeks for me to notice that I wasn't getting them anymore. And I think I noticed because I was less stressed out about getting all of these notifications throughout the day about like what's going on in the news, what's going on in politics, what's going on in the world. So although I firmly believe it is really important for us to be informed and for us to be global citizens and know what's going on, I don't know that we need a check-in about what's going on every 30 minutes or 60 minutes. So I always encourage people to turn off those notifications. And sometimes they've just been on your phone for so long that you're used to it and you've normalized it. So you don't even realize that you're constantly getting a notification from your favorite news network, and that those constant notifications could be adding some stress to your life. And social media apps, I think, can become a major distraction, and they take away from the amount of time you have in the day to be productive. So unless social media is a really key part of your business and you're in a position where you have to consistently and constantly check social media, I encourage people to remove the apps from your phone. It doesn't mean that you can't check it, but it just means that you don't have like immediate access to it. I also know people who have actually hidden those apps, and that just kind of means they have to go through a few annoying steps to get to the app on their phone instead of having it right there as soon as they open the phone. So that's another tip. If you don't want to completely delete the app from your phone, maybe just kind of hide it so that you have to open a couple folders to get to it, and you'll be less likely to open it all the time. But I think having less access to those apps and having less notifications kind of constantly reminding you of what's going on in the world, what you need to get done. Even your Fitbit, I love my Fitbit, but even your Fitbit notifications might bother you sometimes. If you just feel like you're getting too many notifications on your phone, try to go through your settings and minimize how many notifications you get every day. All right, create a healthy bedtime routine. Oh, that little baby makes me want to take a nap right now. So I think, I know this seems so simple, but from doing workshops and speaking to people, I'm surprised with how many people actually don't have a bedtime routine, or they do have a routine, but the routine is watching Netflix until they fall asleep. So I always encourage people to develop some type of bedtime routine. And I can't tell you what that should look like for you. For some people, it may be taking a hot shower before they go to bed because maybe the shower relaxes them. For some people, it's reading. For some people, it may be journaling. For others, it may be meditation. But I think it's important for you to identify what calms you down and what relaxes you. I don't think TV is a bad thing, but I wouldn't do it within that hour before you go to bed. So if maybe watching TV in the evening relaxes you, try to turn it off 30 to 60 minutes before you go to bed. and try to fill that time with some other relaxing activity. And like I said, that could be reading or journaling, but try to think of things that just kind of bring you to a place of calm and relax your mind, and don't stimulate you. Your bedtime routine could also include moving your devices, so whether that's a tablet or your smartphone, if you're one of those people that check it throughout the night or when you wake up to go to the restroom, you're like, oh, let me see what's going on, or let me see if I have an email, or let me check something, then I would suggest just not sleeping with your phone on your nightstand. And if your phone is your alarm clock, I have a really crazy suggestion, which is to buy an alarm clock so that you don't have to worry about the phone, or just look for one. I'm sure there's an alarm clock in your basement or somewhere in your house. I know there's one in mine, but using a different way to wake yourself up if you feel like that's the purpose that the phone serves. And that's mainly if you find that it distracts you at night, or if you turn it on to kind of see what's going on. I think for some of us that just becomes a habit, but it's not good for your sleep cycle. So it's important to remove the devices or keep them a little further away from the bed, so you're not likely to want to hit the device and kind of see what's going on. But a healthy bedtime routine can make a big difference. And then don't forget your morning routine. So for many of us, we have a morning routine, but it may not necessarily be the best. I know my mornings, like this morning, don't work out as well as I would like them to when I don't wake up before my kids wake up. So generally, I wake up 60 to 90 minutes before my kids do. And that's because I want to work out and journal and start my day off as a sane person before the three of them wake up. And I find that having that morning routine allows me to be a lot more productive during the day. It allows me to feel a lot more accomplished because I get a lot of stuff done before they're even awake. And it just kind of gets my day started off on the right foot. So if you find that your mornings feel rushed, or if you kind of get into the car and you already feel stressed out before you even get to work, then I suggest creating a morning routine. And I'm not saying you have to wake up 90 minutes earlier than you currently wake up, but just 20 minutes can make a difference. Just some time for you to maybe make a cup of coffee, or for you to drink some water and stretch, or just for you to do a couple of things that kind of relax you and bring you some sense of calm before you get into the routine of the day. And this is not just for parents, whether you have children or not. I think it's important for you to have like some type of like calming routine in the morning, so that your morning doesn't feel like you're getting up and then like rushing out the door without taking at least a few moments to kind of relax and take care of yourself. Because I do find, from my personal experience, and definitely from the experience of clients that I've had, that having that little bit of time in the morning has a significant impact on how productive you are throughout the day. Focus on your breathing. So I won't say a whole lot about this, but I do think we live in such a fast-paced culture that we don't breathe enough. Obviously, we're always breathing because we're alive, but I'm referring to just like deep, conscious breathing. We don't do enough of that. And sometimes doing that for just a couple of minutes in your car, in the parking lot at Target, can make a big difference in how you feel and how you're able to move on throughout the course of your day. I know for me, deep breathing relaxes me, and it just kind of brings me to a better place mentally before I move forward to whatever the next step needs to be. But I think if you're constantly moving at a fast pace and you're going from one meeting to another, one call to another, one project to another, you really don't take that time to get that deep breathing in. And it does have impact on how you feel physically and mentally. And then both of those things will obviously impact how productive you're able to be throughout the day. Step away. So I think that this one is really important. So we kind of are always doing so much that we maybe feel even a little guilty when we want to step away from something. We feel like we have to keep pushing until we get it done. But I find that that's not the healthiest thing for us to do. I think stepping away from a project, or stepping away from something, a report that you're working on or something, does allow you some space and some time to get a little bit of clarity about what you need to do next. And I think trying to push through any type of project or assignment in a stressed out state is just going to extend the amount of time you're going to spend focused on that particular project versus you stepping away for 10 minutes or 15 minutes. And sometimes that means literally getting up, walking outside. I know it's really cold today, but maybe on not such a cold day, but it just means getting up, walking around your building, going outside. Maybe the cold air will wake you up and make you feel better, but just doing something to kind of clear your mind and step away. Particularly, I think, in our culture, I was reading a study and it said in 2018, Americans finished the year with 705 million unused vacation days. So that's a lot. So that means many of us are just working way too hard, and we're constantly focused on working, and we kind of live in a culture where stepping away is not praised and it's not celebrated in the way that working hard is praised and celebrated. But I firmly believe that we all have to find ways to step away in our lives so we can refocus and get back to what we need to get done. So maybe stepping away means what I said earlier, is getting up from your desk and just like walking away from whatever you're doing for a few minutes. But in your case, if you know that you're one of those 705 million Americans who doesn't really use their vacation days, maybe stepping away means looking at your calendar for this year and truly finding some time for you to take some vacation and relax a little bit and focus. And I know that that can be very hard to do when you have a very intense job, when you have a lot of responsibilities, when you have goals and objectives that you're trying to meet. But I strongly urge people to do it, because I do think that you're able to accomplish a lot more if you are able to kind of take that time away. And do it in a way that's comfortable for you. So if you're the type of person that never takes vacation, I'm not suggesting that you go on a 3-week cruise, because that's probably going to stress you out. But I am suggesting maybe at minimum, take a long weekend and go away for 4 days or 5 days. Do something small and see how you feel when you come back. And then maybe you'll get to a point where you can take a 1-week or a 2-week vacation. So start in a space that feels comfortable for you, but definitely know that it's okay to step away from projects, step away from assignments, and even step away from people that may be elevating your stress level. I think sometimes people can stress us out, and that may be colleagues, that may be people in our personal lives, but stepping away may mean minimizing how much you interact with the person. It may mean just not internalizing things that the person says, but finding a way to kind of step away from whatever the stressor is in your life will put you in a much better place to be productive.
Martine, do you mind if I chime in for a minute and just say, first of all, those of you not taking your vacation, I would like you to call me, because I will encourage you to take vacation days. You know, just a fresh perspective is something that can reboot our creativity. And I was just thinking about, as Martine was talking about stepping away, and, you know, one of the things that research tells us is that American employees are not engaged, and engaged employees are productive and creative, and they stay at their employers. And one of the ways to maintain that engagement is to encourage employees to step away for a minute. And whether it's one of the many good ideas that Martine just talked about, or even perhaps bringing in a training for a day, right? Like, let's just mix things up. Let's learn something new together. Let's step out of our comfort zone. Just think about that, stepping away. I think that is just an excellent idea.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I agree. I think even something like a day retreat or some type of like training is honestly just as helpful as a vacation day. I think it's really, the point is to step away from the day-to-day, hour-to-hour that you're typically engaged in, and step away so that you can have a different type of engagement and kind of reboot your mind and get you prepared to move forward with your projects and assignments in a different mindset is really helpful. So thank you so much for sharing that. So our next hack is to say no. So saying no is so basic, but it's incredibly difficult for a lot of people. And it's also a difficult thing to kind of manage within the workplace, I think. Because obviously, if you're given an assignment or responsibility, you just can't go around saying like no to stuff left and right and just not doing things. Because there are going to be projects and assignments and things that maybe you're not incredibly interested in doing, or maybe you don't kind of understand why you need to be involved with it, but maybe it's necessary for you to get it done. But I think sometimes we also take on way too much though, and we've kind of conditioned ourselves to say yes because you want to do well, you want to please others, you want to please yourself. Maybe you know that you're talented and you have a great skill set and you want to show what you're made of. And I think that those are all great qualities to have, but it can put you in a space of overwhelm and you find that you're saying yes to everything. So I think it's important for us to evaluate when you say yes to something, to really take the time to assess why you're saying yes, because sometimes we say yes to things for the wrong reasons. And I think if you can just step back and ask yourself, like, why is this important to me? Why am I making a commitment to do this? Do I truly have the space on my plate to do it? What's my life going to look like a few weeks or a few months from now because I said yes to this? And if we take the time to ask ourselves those questions and answer those questions honestly, then we'll find that there are situations where we're really just saying yes to something just because we feel like no one else will do it, or we're saying yes to something just because we feel like it's the right thing to do, but we don't have a real solid reason for saying yes. I remember there was a situation at my kids' school where the PTA president was so burned out. And she had been on the PTA for like 11 years because she had like a number of children that had gone through the school. And one of the reasons why she wouldn't step away was because I think maybe she thought that no one else would do it if she didn't keep doing it. But we have to be confident in the idea that somebody will step up and do something, and your reason can't be, your reason for saying yes all the time can't be something like, oh, if I don't do it, no one else will do it, because that's definitely going to lead to stress, and it's going to make you a lot less productive on projects and assignments that you're already working on. So figuring out ways to say no, and sometimes saying no may just be having that engagement and that conversation with a supervisor or with a colleague, and maybe talking through something that someone expects you to do, and maybe having that interaction to help the other person realize that maybe you're not the best fit for it, or maybe it's not a great idea for you to do it based on what else is going on your plate. And I also think saying no to people in our personal lives helps us be more productive at work, because sometimes we become so overextended with what's going on at home, between family responsibilities and different organizations we're a part of and different commitments, and we're saying yes to so many things that it's not like now you're rushing, leaving work to go to a meeting for another organization you're a part of, only to go to another meeting, and then you have to take your kids to activities, and it becomes too much. So I think we also need to assess what we're saying yes and no to in our personal lives, because that will have an effect on how productive we are able to be in the workforce. Right. Fuel your body. So I like to encourage us to think about like how we feel after we eat things, because sometimes we just eat things because it tastes good, and then we're not mindful of the fact that it tastes good, but after I eat it, I feel sluggish, or my stomach doesn't feel that great, or now I'm like really, really tired. So I always encourage people to kind of take some time and like think about like, how do you feel after you eat breakfast? How do you feel after you eat lunch? Do you feel like energized? Do you feel sluggish? Do you feel like you want to go to sleep? How do you really feel after you drink soda? Does it only give you energy for maybe 20, 30 minutes, and then you feel sluggish after that? So just being a little bit more mindful and thinking about food as fuel so that we're choosing the good stuff. Because you don't want to put cheap, poor quality fuel in your car. So same thing goes for your body. And unfortunately, I think sometimes we're more concerned about what we're putting in the car than we are in our own bodies. But I think it's important to really think about staying hydrated and just making better food choices. And I don't feel like everyone's diet needs to look exactly the same. So whether you're a meat eater or a vegan or a vegetarian or a flexitarian or whatever it is that works well for you, I think that that's fine. But I also think it is important to stay away from foods that just don't make you feel good, don't make your gut feel good. Foods that give you brain fog, foods that don't give you the energy that you need. I remember years ago, I made the mistake of buying a burrito at Chipotle for lunch. And I also made the big mistake of eating that entire burrito for lunch. And I almost fell asleep at my desk. And I learned an important lesson to never, ever eat something that heavy for lunch again, because how I felt physically after eating that was not how I want to feel during the workday. It's not leading to any type of productivity. And honestly, it just made me feel sluggish and not so great. So really think about what you eat, how you feel after you eat it, and just kind of select foods that taste good, because I think it's important to enjoy what you're eating, but things that taste good but also make you feel good throughout the day. So then you have the energy that you need to get tasks done. Guard your time. I think this one is important because sometimes we spend too much time on things that don't really require as much of our time as we think they do. And then that leaves us with little time to do the things that are important. So I always tell people, look at your priorities, look at your life, look at the things that you value most. Think about what's most important for you to accomplish in your position, and really look at how you're spending your time. Because oftentimes we spend too much time on things that are not even in alignment with what we value, or not in alignment with what our objective is for the day, but we're still spending way too much time on it. Like, some people check email way too many times throughout the day, instead of just blocking time out for them to focus on what they're doing, and then having like certain sets of times where they check email throughout the day. Or sometimes, depending on the type of job you have, if social media is a part of your position, you can spend too much time on social media instead of just going onto the platform to do what you need to do, schedule what you need to get scheduled, and get out of there. You just kind of get lost in that social media world. So just remember that there are only 24 hours in a day, and no matter how much we wish for it, we're not getting 25 or 26. So we have to really think about, like, how much sleep should you be getting a night, which for most people is 6 to 8 hours. And then look at, okay, how many hours do I have left? What are my other personal responsibilities in terms of family? And how many hours in my day am I dedicating to work? And in those hours, are there things I'm doing that just are not worth my time? Things that are not important, things maybe that I'm just doing out of habit and they just feel comfortable. But comfort doesn't equal productivity. So just kind of looking a little bit more at how you spend your time. And I guess this one ties into two hacks ago, where I said saying no. I think guarding your time is closely related to that, because if you know when to say no to certain things, you're protecting the amount of time that you have to get the important things done.
I really love that, because hearing that from Martine, who is very tech savvy and very knowledgeable about the digital world and how to use it well, really speaks to me, because I've read several articles recently about how just always having our phones on and taking our attention can be detrimental, not only to our productivity, but to our relationships, right? And it's just, we've made that a habit of constantly looking at social media or our phones or whatever. And what I hear Martine saying is that we have to be intentional, and we have to really think about what we're doing with our time. I know one of the things I've tried to make an initiative, I'm not going to say a resolution, but an initiative for this year, is to quit saying I'm busy. Because really, I'm in charge of how I spend my time. Yes. And I'm busy, or I'm too busy, or I don't have the time for that other thing. It's simply my choice. So thank you, Martine. That's great.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Yeah, and I think that that's so true, because I said earlier, like, we live in this culture where it's almost like being busy all the time is something that's praised, but we control our own time. We control what we focus on. And I know for me, that was an important lesson that I had to learn a few years ago, where throughout the course of my entire day, if I'm asked to do something and it's not in alignment with something that I value, and whether that's a workshop or having to take someone I love to a medical appointment. Whatever it is, it has to matter to me and it has to be important. And if it's not, then I'm sorry, I don't have the time to do it. And I think that that's important for all of us to do, because if we don't, we'll get caught up being distracted, doing things that we don't need. And I think social media is, I have such a love-hate relationship with it. I think it is such a wonderful tool, but I also think it is very distracting. And it can damage really your productivity at work. It can damage your relationships with the people that you love. And I think sometimes you don't even notice that the damage is taking place. And that's what makes it so scary. So making the effort to guard your time is truly important. So I have a few more hacks to share with you, and then I'll take any questions that anyone has. So asking for help frequently. I think asking for help is so important. And unfortunately, sometimes people don't want to ask for help because they either feel like others expect them to already know what to do. So they feel like maybe asking for help might look like a sign of weakness, or it might look like they're not as capable as people think they are. But I don't think that that's true. I think the more we ask for help, the more we can get done. And I think a lot of it is about self-awareness and recognizing where your strengths lie, recognizing where maybe you might need some additional assistance to get something done, recognizing how much you have going on, and knowing that maybe there's a particular project or assignment that you can't get done on your own. And also knowing that people are probably far more willing to help than many of us realize. So I know I've gotten caught up before with thinking like, I can get everything done. I was the queen of, I got this. Anyone, even if someone offered help, I was like, I got it. I can do it. I can handle it. I don't do that anymore because it was stressing me out. And I realized that if I was just able to ask people to help me with things, and step in both in my personal and professional life. And it has made such a difference in my ability to be productive. And it has just allowed me to be a lot happier too. And it's opened my eyes to realize like how much people are actually willing to help. And it does not at all speak to how intelligent I am, or what my skill set looks like, or how much I'm able to accomplish. If anything, I think I feel like I'm even smarter now that I've kind of figured out who can help with what, who should I turn to for particular projects that I'm working on, who has more expertise in a particular area than I do. And sometimes later down the line, that person is able to come back to me and ask for my help with something, because maybe there's an area where I have more expertise than they do. So I think if we're able to open our minds up to that and realize that the world is full of people that are willing to help us, and that if we ask for help, we can get a lot more done, then that minimizes the whole I got this mindset, and it reduces how much stress you experience in your day-to-day life. Move your body. So obviously exercising helps to reduce stress, but I always like to say move your body instead of exercise, because I think when I say exercise, people think of like treadmill and a bike and elliptical and like all these things that maybe they don't want to do. But I don't think you need to do things that you don't want to do. Maybe about 10 years ago, I completed a marathon. And do you know what my biggest lesson from that marathon was? I will never run 26.2 miles again for the rest of my life. It was really hard. And I realized that that wasn't something that I enjoyed. I'm glad that I did it. I raised money for a great cause. And I went on to do like more races after that. And I still do 5Ks sometimes. But 5Ks kind of feel good. Like that's my limit. Like I don't enjoy running enough to run 26.2 miles again. But then I also have people that ran that marathon with me, and they've continued for the last 10 years to still do at least a couple of marathons every single year. And they love it. They're absolutely in love with it. And bless their hearts. I think that that is great, but it's not for me. So I always encourage people to find something that works well for you, whether that means walking with your family after you eat dinner in the evening. Maybe it means exercising on your treadmill, but you do it while you watch your favorite TV show, so you kind of feel like you're doing two things at once. Maybe it means you see an image of roller skates here. Maybe it means doing things that are fun, like roller skating or learning how to rock climb or getting on a bicycle when the weather is good for it. But figuring out like something that you can do, it could be anything from yoga to Pilates, but trying to find whatever your sweet spot is. Sometimes my exercise is dancing with the kids at night after dinner because it's great. It's quality time for them. They have a blast, and it's a chance for me to get my Fitbit steps in if I wasn't able to squeeze my workout in that morning. But just find something that works for you and your lifestyle to kind of get moving, and it will help minimize stress. And I think it also, like I said earlier, it helps to reduce stress a lot more if you choose an activity that you actually enjoy and that just kind of feels good for you and also folds well into your lifestyle. Because I think if you choose an activity and just getting to and from that activity is adding more stress to your day, it kind of defeats the purpose. So you want to find something that also fits into your lifestyle too. Go see your physician. So again, another really, really simple hack, but you'd be surprised how many people are not getting their annual physicals or they haven't been to their physician in 3 years. And I think why this is so important is because it kind of lets you know where you stand. So you kind of know what your baseline is. So you should know what your blood sugar is and what your blood pressure is, and you should know your cholesterol numbers. And getting a physical also lets you know if you have anything that's going on that could potentially be adding to your stress. So if you have hypertension and you don't know it, then that's something you need to know. Or if you go to a physician and they recommend a sleep study and then you find out the reason you're not sleeping well at night is actually because you have sleep apnea, but it's been going undiagnosed, then that's a big piece of the puzzle. So now you can actually get some restful sleep and be more productive. But I think many of us have, many people in our culture kind of walk around with preventable conditions that are undiagnosed just because they don't go to the doctor frequently. Maybe there's a reason. Maybe there's some underlying fear. Maybe there's something else going on in their lives. Maybe there's financial stress that's causing them to not go. But I really think it's important for us to get physicals to just make sure that we kind of know what's going on with our bodies, because sometimes there is a medical reason for what's causing some of the stress in our life. But if it's undiagnosed, then we can't address the problem and get to a healthier place. All right, I'm winding down. So ask for what you need. So earlier I mentioned asking for help. So this one's a little different. This is more focused on being clear about what you need. So having some clarity. So knowing what you need, and when you ask other people for something, being really clear with them, because people can't read your mind. And I think sometimes we get stressed because we just expect that a colleague's going to do something, or we just expect that someone knows what needs to get done without communicating that with them. And I think communication is really important. So first, get really clear on what your needs are, because sometimes we're not even clear on what it is that we need. But once you have that clarity, then make it a point to communicate to the other people that you work with about what you need to get something done, and ask them to communicate with you what their needs are. Because with that open communication, then stress is definitely limited in those situations. Mental health is something that's incredibly important. And I think stress can lead to mental health conditions, but I think also sometimes people have an underlying mental health condition that can lead to stress. So it can go both ways, but making your mental health a priority. So that means doing things day to day that kind of minimize stress for you, relax you. And it also means addressing any underlying issues that could be affecting your days. So if you find that you get angry at work a lot more than maybe you used to, or you find that you get upset more than you used to, or that you're just completely unmotivated, not just at work, but in your personal life, I always encourage people to maybe seek counseling or therapy, or just kind of dig a little deeper and find out what's going on. Because if you have depression or anxiety or any other mental health condition and it's not being treated, then it really is difficult for you to be productive and for you to reduce stress because there's something else going on with you that's not being addressed. So I know there's a stigma attached with mental health and people don't talk about it that much. And I know that it's not always the most comfortable thing to talk about, but I typically tell people freely that I've been to therapy before because I think we need to normalize it. And I don't think there's anything wrong with it. And it has allowed me to be more successful in my life. So if you ever feel like your mental health needs a little bit of help, it's okay to seek help for that area because it will help you reduce stress and be more productive. Then I think I just have a couple more. Create a relaxing environment for yourself. So that could be plants, that could be adding a particular lamp in your environment. If you have an office where there's no natural sunlight, they actually have lamps that are supposed to mimic sunlight that you can put one of those lamps in your office if you feel like that you need that light. And it also just means cleaning up because I like to say I'm an organized mess, but honestly, sometimes the mess does stress me out. And I think even people that think they work well with a mess, once you clean it up and organize things, you feel significantly better. So just taking the time to kind of clean your space and put things in your space that kind of relax and bring you calm does help you to be far more productive during the day. And then having affirmations around. So whether it's a great quote that you have or some other affirmation that just makes you feel good whenever you see it or read it, make it the screensaver on your computer or frame it and put it next to your desk, but have it in a place where you can read it frequently. And it does kind of help to relax you and kind of refocus your mind on something that's important to you. And that in and of itself can help you be a little bit more productive throughout the day. So a couple more important quotes that I like to share. So position yourself to succeed by doing the other things in your life that rejuvenate you. Exhaustion affects your quality and productivity. So I think this relates to many of the hacks that I covered in today's webinar, which is really doing things that make you feel better, that clear your mind, that focus on your physical health, your mental health, that allow you to control the decisions that you make, to limit the distractions in your life. And I think if we do all of those things to rejuvenate ourselves, then we are less stressed, we're less exhausted, and we're able to be more productive and produce the quality of work that we would like to produce in our lives. So as promised, a few tips to help you create lasting change. So first, it's do something. So I know I'm an information gatherer. So I read a lot of books and I go to conferences and I gather all this stuff. And I hate to admit, but there are times where it just kind of sits in this nice little pile on my desk and I don't do anything with all of the information that I gathered. So I always tell people the first step is to make a decision about something that you're going to do. But that connects to the second tip, which is pursue just 1 or 2 hacks at a time. If you found that maybe 6 of these hacks or 8 of these hacks that I just shared are helpful for you, please don't try to implement all of these changes in your life like on the same day. I think it's a lot. So just try 1 or 2. And if you're able to do it consistently and you feel like it's going really well and you're comfortable adding something else, then do that. But I think taking action is a great first step, but to limit like how much action we take, because I think that's another thing that we sometimes do. We try to change too much at once and then we end up just giving up because all of the changes aren't going too well, and it's because we kind of reached a little bit too much. Do it daily. So whatever you choose, try to be consistent, and it works best if you try to do it 7 days a week, but I know sometimes our weekends look very different than our Monday through Friday, but try the best to do it daily. Be kind to yourself and show yourself some grace. If you did it 5 days in a row and then you kind of fall off, it's okay. We all do. Just kind of get back on track with whatever the goal is that you're trying to accomplish. Find an accountability partner. So if there's someone in your life that you feel like you can talk to about this and tell them that you're trying to make this particular change, or ask them if they'll go on these daily walks with you or whatever it is, definitely do that. Celebrate the small wins. So we celebrate big things in our culture, but we often ignore the small things. But I think if you accomplished your goal one day, then that's a win, and you should celebrate that. Acknowledge how you feel in all the situations. So if you feel like your stress is reduced because you're doing a particular thing, then stick with it, because I'm sure that you probably like how you feel when your stress level is lower. And please remember that the goal is less stress, not stress-free. I don't think that that's a reasonable goal. We're always going to have some type of stress in our lives. I think the important thing is to not let it overwhelm us, and it's also important to learn how you need to manage your own stress as an individual. And remember that productivity does not equal perfection. So the goal is not for you to do everything perfectly. It's not for you to never miss the mark or to never make a mistake, but it's for you to be more focused, less stressed, and to get more things done, but make sure that they're important things and the things that you need to get done, so that you're not distracted and you're not in a position where you're not reaching your goals. And then my final quote is, sometimes the biggest gain in productive energy will come from cleaning the cobwebs, dealing with old business, and clearing the desk, cutting loose debris that's impeding forward motion. So I think this kind of pulls everything together, which is, if we can kind of clean out what doesn't need to be there, take better care of ourselves, clear the cobwebs in our personal and our professional lives, then we can really get some clarity and we can move forward and reduce stress and be more productive. Great. We are here for Q&A. So does anyone have any questions for me?
So we do have a question, and the question is, do you think that people sometimes have unreasonable expectations of themselves, creating even more stress?
I think that that is a great question, and I absolutely do. I think sometimes we do set very high expectations for ourselves, and we expect to get a lot more done than we probably should or need to, and it does increase the amount of stress that we have significantly. So I always encourage people to kind of step back and look at all of the things that you're doing in your life, and like I mentioned earlier, really assessing whether or not everything you're doing is in alignment with something you value, right? So you value your career, your family, your health, and maybe there are a few other, maybe your faith, and there are a few other things that you value tremendously. And then when you find that you're adding and adding and adding more things to the list that aren't in alignment with those things, being able to step back and say, you know what, I just can't commit to this. But I think that that is a great question. I think it's very common for us to have expectations that are way too high, and it does set us up for stress. So one of the biggest things I always tell people is to show yourself some grace and realize that even if you have a lot of goals, sometimes you don't have to reach all of those goals in the time frame that you've established for yourself. Sometimes you have to table things. I have a book for that very reason. I have a journal at home where I keep ideas and different projects and things that are important to me and I want to work on, but they just can't fit into my life right now. I have too much going on. So that's like I'll get to this at some point. I know I'm going to accomplish this, but it's not going to be in 2019. I just can't do it. I'm going to overextend myself and burn out. So yeah, I think it's just a process of getting to the place where you know how to set aside certain things and kind of show yourself some grace and limit how much you expect from yourself. So I hope that helps. Any other questions?
I think that has been such great information. And kind of piggybacking off that question, when I counseled college students about their career in my past, one of the things I've encouraged them to do is to keep a list, a journal, however you like to do it, of accomplishments, right? Because whether it's for the time that you sit with your supervisor or boss when you're having that once a year performance appraisal, or whether it's just for your own mental health to kind of give you a little bit of a pick-me-up, it's easy to expect a lot of ourselves, but sometimes we forget, just as Martine said, to celebrate our accomplishments. So if you can be pretty specific about things you've accomplished, I think it really helps us not only feel better about ourselves, but it helps us articulate how valuable we are in our position. So that's something I really appreciated. But I know I learned so much today, and I feel like I just really need to take it in. And like you said, maybe start applying 1, 2, or 3 of the hacks at a time, and make it a practice and a discipline in our lives. We just thank you for the great information. And I'm sure if the listeners out there think of things as they get through the day or through the week, and they send questions, just would you be willing to elaborate on things later, Martine?
Yeah, absolutely. It was so great being here and sharing the tips. So yes, if anyone has any additional questions, you can actually feel free to email me. My email address is martine@martineforeman.com. So it's pretty easy. And I promise if anyone emails me and sends a question, I will definitely respond.
Thank you. Thank you. So our next PowerBrew, we don't want you to forget that there's more coming up in February. It'll be on the 19th, again, 9 to 10 a.m. And sometimes I think these cold winter months, the PowerBrews are just the best because it gives us something to look forward to, that we don't have to get out in the cold. We can sit at our desk, enjoy our coffee, and take it in. And we're going to kind of keep in this same theme, kind of like being your best and making improvements so that not only in our personal life we can move forward, but then we can bring that to the office and be even more productive, more confident as we approach the workday. So our speaker next month will be Brooke Broussard, another adjunct faculty member here at Carroll Community College, and she's got some great tips for us about being your best self and focusing in on how to be healthy in our physical sense. So thank you, everyone. Have a great week, and we'll see you next month.